This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Baer, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com. And Wonder Shop, a co-working community and after-hours who knows what in Candler Park. Check us out at wondershopatl.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is Wednesday, April 25th, 2018, and this is podcast episode 104. And here in the sunny south, it's been kind of cloudy and rainy lately. The pollen's come down aplenty, but it seems like it may have found the end of the major pollen season. And for those of you not familiar with the lovely pollen of Georgia, it's a light yellow dusting on pretty much everything that can be dusted, as well as getting inside your lungs and your nose and your head and everything else. So it's done some damage to some folks, but hopefully they're seeing the other side and getting ready to come out into some good stuff like this weekend. It's going to be amazing weather, I'm sure, in Atlanta, and there's so much going on, beginning of festival season and stuff. Inman Park Festival is going on Saturday and Sunday. Our show, obviously, the Good Gracious Show, is Saturday night, 8 o'clock, at Switchyard's Downtown Club with a really spectacular lineup. Poet, songstress Minton Sparks is going to be there. Village Theater is going to do some improv comedy. Andrea Colburn and Mud Mosley doing some outlaw country. Who else do we got? Oh, got Black Cat Tips, street folk artist, coming and give you some words of wisdom, as well as Jason Collier, amazing musician. And these people, these educators, these big-hearted folks from Common Good Atlanta, they're going to come out, and there'll be a few surprises in there somewhere, I'm sure, but it should be a fantastic show. It's our 11th. And it's only $20 at the door, or $17.50 if you can get your tickets now. So it's quite the evening, and I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of folks. So on this episode, I sat down with Leah Lonsbury of Just Bakery Atlanta, and my name's Baker. I've got a soft spot for cooking and baking and serving people, and the folks there and Leah, they're doing yeoman's work to try to help connect a refugee population with job training and transition into a new world and a new environment. So it's a beautiful story, and they're just getting started. So I've got high hopes that we're going to get to talk about this again in length as they grow, because they've only been open like 6 months. Also, on the episode, Rachael Petit from Cold Heart Canyon came out and talked a little bit, talked about the band, talked about music, and sang a song. So we got some good stuff coming up. So enjoy.
I'm Leah Lonsbury, and I work with Just Bakery. I founded it, and now I get the pleasure of being the director of it.
When you say I get the pleasure of being the director of it, is that really how it feels?
It really does. It's the first time in my life that I am doing something every day that feels like a good fit. It feels like I'm getting to be a part of making some change in the world, and I get to do it in a flexible way that gives me lots of chances to interact with people that I love and find exciting. So.
Yeah. So what was the impetus? How did this come about? Origin story, Superman.
Right. So I've been dreaming for over 10 years about doing something with my life that combines working for justice and hospitality and food. Love to feed people. And started out initially to create like a prep meal program, like Freshly or Blue Apron, something like that. And through a series of turns and twists, ended up focusing on bakery. I used to live in Madison, Wisconsin, where there's Just Bakery Madison, and they started out 5 or so years ago working with folks coming back from incarceration who were having trouble finding their way back into life.
I've heard about a similar program in California, I'm pretty sure.
Right. So they were the people who taught me that you can use the marketplace creatively to carve out new ways.
Yeah, because it's great job training and, and like you said, transition.
Right. So my good friends there taught me a lot. My church here was granting money for initiatives in the community to make change and partner with vulnerable populations.
What church is that?
Oakhurst Baptist. And
so all the pieces came together.
Yes, and I had been in grad school here before we moved to Wisconsin, and we came home to Atlanta, to our chosen home, and doors just opened and connections happened. And
had you been a baker before? Had you?
No.
Do you even like to cook?
I love to cook. I'm a better cook.
It's a different world.
Right.
Baking is a different world. People don't get that always.
Right. I'm a better cook than I am baker because more of my life is more about art and experimentation than it is about precision and science, which are really important.
Math and science come in handy with bakers.
Right. Science I can do. Math is a little harder for me. So, yeah, but I have.
So how did you do that? So then how did you do that? Is your husband involved, and was he a baker, or how did you? I understand you get a lot of support from the Midwest and from your church, but I've also tried to make bread by myself.
Right,
you kind of need somebody on the ground.
Right. We our founding head baker is Jo Nickel from Athens, and she got us off to an amazing start. She's a magic maker in the kitchen and has a heart for the folks we're partnering with. And then she has retired to Athens and to her kindergartner and life there. And now we have head baker and educator Mike Carmody in place. And he's also brilliant in the kitchen and a lovely human being. He came here from New Orleans, where he's famous for his Elvis King Cake. And so we're seeing a little bit of that in our Elvis pound cake muffins, peanut butter, banana, and bacon going on right now. So I have
no calories, no gluten, all love.
It's good for us in every way. So he handles the magic in the kitchen, and I get the pleasure of doing things like talking to you and making community connections and finding us places to sell and chasing down grants. And
what exactly is the task? Who are the people you're trying to serve, or who are helping you serve?
So we partner with folks in the Clarkston area who are resettled refugees, and they come work with us on paid job training and professional certification through ServSafe, through the National Restaurant Association. So should they decide to move on and open their own food service establishment or go, a huge percentage of resettled refugees move again. So then they would be taking this credential with them. And then we pay a living wage and bake all these goodies and take them places and sell them, and that supports the nonprofit side of things.
So basically you're in any markets or farmers markets or stores or shops or whatever you can do.
You should ask.
Oh.
We've just gone into the Oakhurst market, where we're doing deliveries Thursdays and Saturdays, and in May we pick up Tuesdays as well. We have a really supportive customer base in that neighborhood, an outpouring of excitement about what we're up to. And then we've been in faith communities where they're less often. Now, first Sundays of the month, we're at Immaculate Heart of Mary, and we're looking for retail space. We got a very generous grant from UMCOR, which is the United Methodist Committee on Relief. Their livelihood program works with organizations that are helping folks create their own livelihood to change their own lives. So we've been given a generous grant from them that's renewable for up to 3 years. And so we're looking for our own retail space right now, and we're going to be purchasing a vehicle and hiring more folks.
Nice.
So we started with 2 resettled refugee bakers, trainee bakers, and we're 6 months in, and we've just hired our 6th baker. So it's really exciting.
So you're only 2 months? Is that what you just said?
6 months.
6 months.
Started with 2 bakers.
Still, 6 months. I mean, when did you started 6 months ago?
Mm-hmm. In October.
Wow.
Right.
That's impressive.
Well, this is all due to the reception we've gotten in the community.
People do like bread, I got to be honest.
They do. And who doesn't love a good cookie?
Oh.
And our cookies are good. I'm a little biased, but they're delicious. So.
Well, and how have you found the experience from the refugees? Do they come bringing certain skills to the baking process, or is it a cultural divide sometimes of how I know different cultures bake in different ways? And
Sure.
So I'm not really sure how that plays out.
So everybody comes with a different skill set, and they're smart in all kinds of amazing, astounding ways, and their stories are remarkable.
Yeah.
Hyatt, who is one of our bakers who originally came from Syria with her family, has all kinds of baking experience, and she taught us to make marouk, which is a date-filled bread that is shaped in this gorgeous wreath shape that we did pre-orders and sold over the winter holidays, and that was our biggest seller. And it's like a artistic experience.
Yeah.
And then Bhima is originally from Bhutan, came here from Nepal, where she spent most of her young life, and she's taught us to make cumin scented shortbread. So it's like a savory cookie. It's delicious with tea.
Interesting.
And they have mad math skills, way better than mine. Thank goodness. We have 3 bakers right now who originally come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and most of their dessert or bread type items are fried, which is a little harder for us to do on the go and take places. So we continue to work with them, trying to pull out of them some ideas about some recipes that might come from their families.
Well, that's interesting.
Places of origin.
So I'm guessing that you're making things that are natural extensions of what people would want in this community, but as well as trying to blend in some international flavor.
Sure. It's a balance, right?
Yeah.
Because Americans...
Well, you got to sell it, or else you ain't supporting.
Right. We got to keep moving and learning. So we doubled the sugar in Bhima's recipe with her permission, so that Americans would eat them.
And we doubled the fat.
Right, exactly. all the good things. But yes, we doubled the sugar. So it's a balance to strike. But we're also committed to using as much as possible locally and sustainably sourced ingredients. So each of our baked goods has at least one, usually more, of those ingredients, so that the good we're trying to do together spreads.
That's a challenge, though. I mean, I've talked to other folks.
It's expensive.
Yes.
But tough to pull off sometimes.
Yeah, and especially if you're trying to do things that are good for the environment and how people are handling that.
Right.
That's great. So the ultimate goal is to just have one big machine of a bakery cranking it out, helping all kinds of folks come in, learn skills, transition through, or stay, and then just have your goods in every shop available that anybody would ever want them. Is that about right?
It's very close.
Pretty close?
Mike said the other day, our head baker, we were talking about what are the opportunities for folks after they've been resettled, and so many of our refugee neighbors go work at the chicken plant because you don't have to speak English, you don't have to have any education, and you can just go and work these grueling hours with an hour and a half commute and get paid a minimum wage, which is not a living wage. And so Mike said, I want Just Bakery to get so big that nobody has to work at the chicken plant anymore. And that is a lofty aim, but one that I can get behind to help move us in that direction. Because we're looking for our retail space, and because it is hard logistically to pull off all these pop-up sales,
it takes a lot of manpower.
It sure does, and you're looking at the woman power right here. That, and people aren't coming to sales to see me; they're coming to see our training bakers who have been baked all night and then don't have the transportation or the sleep banked enough to go to these sales. So we're looking for this retail space. We hope it will become a community center of sorts, so that one of our goals is to continually build diverse and compassionate community, which crosses all kinds of lines. Our bakers have that to give to our community that surrounds us as well, and so we hope that that's going to be a center of what we do mostly. We're set up to do retail instead of wholesale, and that's really where our focus will be.
Yeah. So you're not going to worry. You're not going to focus on wholesale necessarily. But if the opportunity came your way,
Right, we'd have to change some things we do. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, play by the rules.
Yeah. And is that because of the space you're in? You have to have different licenses?
You have to have a different license to do retail or wholesale. Wholesale is a lot more regulations and checking in and those sorts of things.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So can people come to the facility and buy your goods right now?
We do take special orders. Our schedule for sales is up on our website, so we've got a nice calendar there with things you can click on, tell you where to find us. And anybody out there who has leads on retail space, we would love to hear about that. We have, of course, nonprofit limited budget, but we do have some budget for that.
And you got a lot of bread. You got a lot of good baked goods.
We do. We can pay you in
There's
bread
a lot
and
of trays.
cookies.
There you go.
Right.
I mean,
We're
it's
up for
called barter, right?
Right. Exactly.
Well, if people want to find out more about you or how they can get involved or, how they can help, what's the best way for them to track you down?
Our website. My phone number's there. My email address is there. We have a web form they can fill out.
And that website is?
www.justbakeryatl.org. And we are always looking for people power, volunteers, mostly for sales and transportation. We're hoping to match our trainee bakers up with some mentors in the community. The International Rescue Committee in Atlanta has been incredibly helpful to us getting started, helping us find our folks. They laid out for us that the largest gap in the long-term resettlement process in terms of making sure life here is successful and sustainable for resettled refugees is continued education and professional certification, like the higher ed kind of degree to move people out of these lower wage jobs.
Well, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your interest. Look forward to hearing from your folks and being a bigger part of the community.
There's a monster in the trenches of the city. It's feeding on the people's happiness. Watch out.
I'm here with Rachael Petit from Cold Heart Canyon. How you doing today?
I'm great.
Good.
Slightly hungover.
That's all right. They'll get better. It will.
It will. It will. Day off, so it'll be good.
Well, I appreciate you coming in on your day off and
course.
chatting and doing stuff. Well, so how long has Cold Heart Canyon been an entity?
Man, I want to say maybe like a little over 3 years now. And it started off myself and Robert and one other person. Then the other person just decided to musically go somewhere else. So it was just Robert and I for quite some time. And then Jenna stopped by one time to just listen to some songs and absolutely loved it. So she jumped in. And then Christopher Salmon kind of trickled in here and there, playing on the album for one song. And he liked it a lot and we loved him. So we were like, you want to be a permanent member in our band? It's like always like... It's like asking someone to marry you. You're like, do you want to be in a long-term relationship with like 5 other crazy people?
I think it's kind of like being on Scooby-Doo, right? Because you're all saying, hey, you want to come get in the van with us and we just see what happens?
Yeah, and then Caleb came around, maybe a little over a year ago. So as a whole, the 5-piece that it is now, it's been a little over a year, I'd say. And we're working on recording a full length now with all the members as is.
Nice.
Which will be really cool because the EP is absolutely awesome, but it was just Robert, Jenna, and myself for the most part. Christopher's on one song on that, but then we had our buddy Colin Agnew play drums on it. So it has definitely a different voicing than what Caleb has now, and I'm excited to like have everyone's input into it and like be able to show all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Has the sound changed? I mean, obviously it's going to change as you add, these layers and these colors, but were you always going for, how do you like to call your music? Everybody wants to know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what kind of music is it?
I guess I've like narrowed it down to like darker Americana experimental bluegrass. Is what I guess.
That's a nice long one.
Decided to call it. I usually will say darker Americana, and then like people will be like, no, but you guys do like kind of like a bluegrassy thing, and I'm like, yeah, but it's not like traditional, but there's so much to it. But we have so many different like musical
different
tastes
interests.
and everything coming together. I'd been in a pop band before. I'd been in like a pop punk band before, but actually doing something that we're doing now, I kind of feel like I've always gravitated towards wanting to write like this, and I just never knew it.
I mean, write like in this genre that you created, kind of?
Yeah, kind of.
So you kind of knew that there's something in you that it resonates in that realm, but because there's not a category, maybe it was harder to jump right in.
Definitely harder to kind of figure out what I was doing or wanting to do. And so meeting Robert, just like I had some songs and like we just started kind of writing together, and it started just really coming together really nicely. And I started picking up bass a tiny bit. He showed me how to play bass, so I do that on some songs. And so now he will play guitar on some songs. And we have one of our newest songs that Christopher, who normally plays, well, him and Jenna switch between like mandolin, accordion, fiddle, banjo for the most part. He's actually playing guitar on one song. I'm playing bass, and Robert's playing banjo. So it's like, we flip around all sorts of different ways.
Well, that probably it keeps it lively, right?
It's
it keeps
so
it
much
interesting.
fun. Yeah. I'm always in awe at how well everybody can play their instruments, and on top of that, they can play multiple instruments. So it's very cool.
Did you grow up playing an instrument, or?
I started playing guitar when I was like 15.
Yeah.
My dad had a guitar. He always plays, what does he play? Smoke on the Water. And I want to say Stairway to Heaven. I can't remember the other song that he likes
good
to play.
classic stuff.
And he even to this day, like, and he doesn't touch a guitar for years, and then he'll pick it up and like still know how to play that. So he always kind of did play the guitar here and there when I was growing up. And I really liked, I think Michelle Branch is who inspired me to really want to pick up the guitar and start playing.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I learned her song. One of her songs was the first that I like learned, and I started playing guitar while singing. I've always sung. I think I figured out that I could sing when I was maybe in like 3rd grade. I started figuring it out.
Like in the chorus or something like that.
I was always in choir, always like church choir, always doing that sort of stuff, but like actually like starting to like get noticed that I can carry a tune more than the average bear, I guess.
Yeah.
I was like 3rd grade. So yeah, I started playing guitar around, I guess when I was like 15. Yeah. It's been a long time. I wish I was better at it, but
I think everybody says that. I mean, I'm lucky I get to talk to a lot of different musicians, and almost every one of them says, yeah, I wish I were better.
Yeah.
No matter how accomplished they are.
Yeah.
But that's good. That means you want to strive to put out some good stuff.
I'm really solid on the rhythm part. The riffing part, I'm like, you guys can handle that, right?
Play to your strengths, right? Mm-hmm. You're not afraid to stand up and sing. Not everybody can do that.
Which to me is easy-ish. Like it's like a natural thing for me. So I'm like, I got that, guys. Don't worry about it. But for some other people, like that's the most terrifying thing. It used to be very terrifying for me, but I had to just keep doing it. Like, I mean, when I would do solos in front of people for like, I was in like the All-State
the choir
thing, like a dance choral thing, and whenever I'd have solos, my throat would just like dry up and I'd choke, and I'm like, ugh. But now I'm like, okay, I got this.
That's good, because if you there's a lot of folks that I talk to that still they fight that, and sometimes that's good energy that gets you anxious, but it's still a lot easier to be able to step up to a mic and not really think twice about it, or care really if anybody likes you.
Yeah. I always care a little bit if people like me.
Well, you want them to.
But
you want to. But sometimes when you pull back and you go, you know what? I'm here either way.
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? One person will like this. One out of all of you will like this. And that's all that matters to me. Not everybody's going to like it.
Right.
That's
so
okay.
When you're doing songwriting, is it just you, or is it you and Robert, or... And how do you do that? Is it you work off of lyrics more, or do you like to pluck?
It's a lot of things. Yeah. Like it started, I kind of was like, hey, I have these lyrics and this guitar part, and then they'd maybe like Robert, when it was just he and I, he'd be like, okay, well maybe try this differently a little bit here. And then we'd kind of go from there. But more recently, Robert started being like, hey, I got a song that I'd love to like have you play bass and I play the guitar. And I'm like, cool, awesome. And the lyric part, I definitely do a good portion of the lyrics, but Robert has his input for sure a lot of times. And then Christopher Salmon started presenting songs. There's this one song called Snake Oil that I really love, and I can play the guitar part that he wrote, but I would never have been able to write a guitar part like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I felt like I was kind of in a little bit of a writer's block for a minute, but it was more so like a guitar block. Like writing on guitar is a little harder for me. Yeah. So when they were like, hey, like I have this entire song, I just need lyrics. I'm like, I got you.
Yeah.
And it just all came out like really awesome. And yeah, so it's kind of been like more and more lately, everyone's kind of throwing in their voice onto it, which I really like that a lot more because it makes me feel like I have a lot more freedom and just picking out of different spots in my brain instead of just getting so like pigeonholed into this one sound or whatever.
Yeah. Well, so what's the timetable or the plan on the album, on new recording?
So they had Unity Recording is Robert's business that he has with a couple other guys. So they were in Norcross for a minute there, and it's just like a really horrible commute, like 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back with traffic.
Right.
So they got offered to open up behind Earthshaking Music, which is way closer.
Yeah.
So they just had to do a whole studio move and rebuild. Wow. And then I went to Japan for 2 weeks. So we're like, now I'm literally probably going to, next time I see Robert, be like, all right, let's like hash it out. I mean, we have all the drums are done. Except for maybe one little part. We have a good amount of guitar done, and I think I've even thrown vocals on a couple songs, but I feel like this was kind of back in like September, so I'm like probably gonna wanna redo some stuff. Yeah. Like but I might listen to it and be like, yeah, that was really good, or I might listen to it and be like, I want to sing it differently now. So we're definitely kicking it into gear. He had another project with some really close friends of ours, Blood on the Harp. They were doing their album. So he kind of needed to finish that, and then the move happened, and then I went out of the country, and now we're back on board. So I think it's going to be in the next, like, I really want to shoot for the next month or so to hopefully have it done. Yeah. I've been aching for it. Our EP is great, and I love it, but it's definitely not what we're
sounding like right now.
It really isn't. I mean, I think it's a great starter, a great EP, and it's like I'm like, but wait till you hear our album, because then you're gonna hear like the whole like animal that it is now, like all 5 of us, all of our heads in on it, doing all the production together, and then Robert doing all the engineering and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really cool to have that all like homegrown sort of stuff.
Well, so hopefully end of summer, in the fall, summer.
End of summer. I would really like that.
Will you plan on hitting the road, or what will happen then? Do you know?
We do some like little out of town stints here and there, a couple like longer weekends and stuff. We're playing in Panama City Beach on May 2nd. That's gonna be fun.
Oh,
it's my last day of my 20s. I'll be turning 30 May 3rd.
My gosh.
So we're going to play a show to pretty much that's like way more awesome than my birthday last year.
Yeah.
My birthday last year sucked.
Well, this year will be better, I'm sure.
Yes, it's going to be great. So, I know we do definitely want to try and take our stuff on the road a little more. We've been wanting to do more like in the Carolinas and New Orleans, hit all those different areas, because a lot of times we do like Savannah and Charleston and Valdosta, like that kind of little circle. So we're talking about doing Athens. So we really want to start, once we get our album together, taking that and really pushing it out.
But that's also, with a larger crew, that's when it gets challenging,
exactly.
Right?
It is a little more difficult. Yeah. We did recently just do a tour where a couple people had to like drive themselves, because Jenna is so busy. She's like the Mother Teresa of modern day. So she's always like, teaching yoga to children and cooking classes to old people while playing in multiple bands. So, she has to bounce around a lot. So she rode separately, but we're trying to get on the road.
Put the pieces together. It'll
Yeah.
come. It'll happen.
It will.
It'll happen.
Yeah, totally.
Well, if people want to find out about what you're doing and what the timetable is and have a listen, what's the best way for them to do that?
Man, Facebook and Instagram are definitely the necessary evils in the band world these days. But our Facebook is Cold Heart Canyon Music is the facebook.com/Cold Heart Canyon Music. I believe it might even just be Cold Heart Canyon. There is a really terrible movie we have yet to watch called Cold Heart Canyon. So
that's not why you named the band?
No, but I'm like, we really need to watch this because people are like, it looks like an exotic thriller or something like that.
I'm sure it is.
But yeah, that Facebook, we definitely keep up to date a lot. We have a website as well, but that's a little more in the works on getting all of our
Well, it's
shows and
tough.
stuff
It's
on
tough
there.
keeping all the bits and pieces.
Yeah, I know.
Connecting with folks.
Instagram, I definitely will blast posters in people's faces. I actually was like, oh, I need to start promoting for our show on the 27th. That's coming up way sooner
Yeah.
than I feel like.
It's funny how that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It rolls up quick.
Yeah, I mean, being out of town for 2 weeks and then
Yeah.
coming back and being like, all right, boom, 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 boom.
Right. Get back into your groove.
Yes.
That's tough.
Which I like.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like that a lot.
well, thanks for coming today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure.
So yeah, the song is called Avalanche Town.
I'm running away from the in my mind, away from you. He
So that wraps up another Good Gracious episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any ideas, any great folks that make interesting podcast, stories, please send them my way. Whether they're musicians, artists, change makers, somebody doing something great. It's all about shining a positive light on the South and all the amazing folks that are around us. I'd love to hear from them. Love to hear from you. And also, share this with other folks. You can tell them they can stream it from goodgracioushow.com, or you can download through iTunes, Stitcher, all those other fun things. So there's 100 other episodes back there, so dig in, and there's some great stories to tell. I hope that we can see you on Saturday night at Good Gracious number 11. You can get tickets through the website, and we might have some at the door. Not really sure just yet. Hate for you to miss out, though. Otherwise, be a good neighbor, go hug someone, and we'll talk to you next week.